It's curtains for Stephen Colbert, the longtime liberal late-night host, signing off for the final time last night after CBS pulled the plug on the late-night show's 30-year run, which was losing $40 million a year. Watch.
On night one of the Colbert Report, back in the day, I said, anyone can read the news to you. I promise to feel the news at you. And I realized pretty soon in this job that our job over here was different. We were here to feel the news with you. And I don't know about you, but I sure have felt it.
And the show's final week was jam-packed with the TDS all-stars like Bruce Springsteen and Robert De Niro, who ranted about President Trump one last time before the lights went out.
You're the first guy in America who's lost his show because we got a president who can't take a joke.
What number were you thinking of? Okay.
Yeah?
Because I thought it would have been 2.5 million or 2.5 million. That's the number of Epstein files Trump still hasn't released.
But even Colbert's woke Hollywood pals didn't take it as hard as his biggest fans, the liberal media, who fawned over their late-night martyr.
It's a sad night to see Stephen sign off, to see a president who can't take a joke go after anyone who can make one.
For those who say, oh, he was too political, too partisan, you know, always worry when they come for the comedians.
Breaks my heart. This is his last show.
Part of the authoritarian ethos is that God shall not be mocked. And they often go after comedians. They go after people who mock them. And that is what Trump has done.
The Late Show was about so much more than politics. Just make the world a little bit less bleak. That's what we're losing in this country.
And the official Democrat X account is in mourning with one less place to push its liberal messaging. Tyrus, nowhere in there was the self-analysis of, well, maybe the jokes aren't funny. Maybe we're losing all these millions of dollars, so the audience is speaking for us. Maybe it's a business decision.
Yeah, you know, if Colbert tells a joke on CBS, does anyone hear it? No. The show was terrible, and he had horrible ratings. He lost $40 million a year and had the greatest firing ever. Fox, if you ever decide to fire me and say, Tyrus, in 1 year, you're out of here. That is he had so much time. And then he gets severance after that. But they should have been, they can't celebrate anything. And the reason why the media was having such a meltdown is because no one else is going to have him on their show that much. No one is going to stay up late to see Stelter talk. Like, his show was repugnant. He was repugnant. You go and the whole thing, the president can't take a joke. He just sat up there for an hour making fun of himself. Like, he makes jokes of himself all the time. We make fun of him on a nightly basis on the Gutfeld show. People, it's not, blame the people, blame the American people who didn't want to watch you anymore. It's the people's fault. So are you saying that people are in step with the president?
Yeah. And so, all right, Paul, one of the criticism that they're levying. So you can't make jokes, but the issue is, of course he can make jokes. It's not if they weren't funny and they weren't selling and audiences weren't watching, then really, instead of saying they're coming after the comedians, isn't it that's the business decision of an entertainer who is failing to entertain?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And that's really what obtains here. He could be joking about Donald Trump from now until doomsday. If he wasn't losing $40 million a year, that's almost Greg's salary. I mean, God help us. He's got something like 60 writers. Greg has what? Me, you, and the Joes, right? I mean, that's it. And yet, that crew, Joe, DeVito, Mackey, they blow that show away in terms of their numbers.
You got 100 writers.
It was numbers. That's really all it really was. But, you know, I got to tell you, in terms of blowing it, what a missed opportunity. Colbert could have been, he's in that seat that could have made him sort of the Johnny Carson of his generation. And instead, he took it into a place that nobody wants to hear before they go in bed. Most of America is going to bed at that point, and they want to be put to bed in a way that there's some humor, okay, but the world's okay, America is okay, we're not the worst people in the world. And instead, he turned it into a very poisoned and poisonous hour. It's an hour, right, the show? And you can see how much I watched it.
A little bit more.
And so, you know, as a result, people just turned off to it. And $40 million, man, you better be awfully funny if you're going to justify $40 million. And not for nothing, it isn't Colbert, it's Colbert. All right, hello, we're not in Paris. Get out. I mean, that's the original sin in this whole thing. But realistically, at the bottom line here, the end of the day, it is a business. He didn't deliver for that business, and that's all it is. And unfortunately, Springsteen and De Niro just can't face that.
Jessica, I might know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Why is Colbert and his legion of fans, why are they continuing to blame POTUS for this instead of blaming Colbert for destroying a 30-year legacy?
Colbert.
The reason that they're blaming Donald Trump is because Donald Trump and his FCC, so Brendan Carr, have been coming after networks where they don't like the coverage that they're getting. They did this with Jimmy Kimmel, and there were Republicans who had to come out and defend Jimmy Kimmel. Like, it's not fun for Ted Cruz to have to dedicate time on his podcast to saying, guys, this isn't how the First Amendment works. And one day the shoe will be on the other foot, hoping very soon on that. And you don't want the left coming after the right in this way. CBS paid a settlement of $16 million for, quote unquote, selectively editing, which was a normal protocol in how they do their episodes over 60 minutes. So they kowtow to the administration. And you know when you kowtow to this administration that they just take more. Colbert being fired comes as new leadership at CBS has caused a rupture in viewership. I mean, they are bleeding viewers now. You have Letterman showing up. He was there in the final weeks talking about the destruction of that network and what it has turned into, and that it's a proxy for what the administration wants. Yes, there's a money element. Absolutely. You can't lose $40 million. But when you look at someone like Anderson Cooper, who signed off for 60 Minutes, he was there 20 years, tearful about it, that he was leaving this job, that you get the impression was, of all of his amazing jobs, maybe his most favorite, except for New Year's Eve. You know that something is rotten within CBS, and that journalists who work there feel that they, under the Ellisons and Barry Weiss, are doing favors for the administration. They are pushing people aside to make sure mergers can go through and that they can advance their point of view over the point of view of the talent that they have or the good work that was done, like on that CCOT story. Like, Bill Owens doesn't quit unless something is really bad with what's going on there. So Colbert's show getting canceled is contextualized amidst all of that. And that's why people are saying that this is related to Donald Trump.
Rosanna, do you think, however, that to kowtow, it would be if, for example, they were making a profit? And to kowtow would mean, for example, if everyone was enjoying themselves and audiences were loving it. But the reality was that all of those shows were bleeding viewers, bleeding ratings, and everyone there was using it as a therapy session against the president, which audiences didn't respond to. So when we talk about the talent there, I think, frankly, Americans didn't see it as talent. They saw it as disrupting a lunch therapy group, and they were done with it. They were sick of it. So perhaps the new dawn that's occurring there is a welcome breath of fresh air for Americans that want to see the truth, not just TDS.
I have to say, America changed the channel. But, you know, the TV landscape has totally changed. It's splintered now. Let's face it. The ratings they were getting on The Tonight Show or The Late Show with Stephen Colbert 10 years ago is different than it was last night. Now there are podcasts, everybody's streaming. And sometimes people don't want a political lecture before they go to sleep. They want to laugh. He didn't care. He wanted to alienate half the audience. It stopped being funny. And last night, of course, you know, listen, Paul McCartney was fabulous. It was symbolic that he turned off the lights when his career started on the Ed Sullivan Show. But having De Niro on, I love his acting, but the guy is out of his mind. I was supposed to interview him recently for the Tribeca Film Festival, but every time I interview him, he thinks I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro, and he goes on and on about Jeanine. I have to then tell him I'm not Jeanine, and then he goes on a rant about Fox.
There's only one Judge Jeanine.
There's only one judge. She's got the legal document. Anyway.
There's only one Rosanna, and he should know who he's talking to. So to your point,
he doesn't read good either. Did you see how bad that was? Brutal.
You know, listen, nobody wants to leave their job in TV. It's a fabulous job. It's relevant. You have a great audience, a great platform. But sadly, you know, it's all about economics now. And he was not making money.
They'll take care of him. You watch. They'll figure out.
Oh, I'm sure other networks are chomping at the bit.
Absolutely. The Hollywood
grab him
crowd,
up.
he's going to get the softest landing of all time. You'll see. He's going to get all hooked up.
Hope he takes his needle dancers with him.
We'll wait for the podcast announcement. Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.